Welcome back to My Way. Here is a man who is just as comfortable thousands of feet in the air as on solid ground. This is the story of a passionate aviation family across 3 generations and a hobby that's not for the faint-hearted.
A Warbird's anything now that's used by a civilian that was once used by a military force anywhere in the world. I think every aircraft I work on is a labour of love. My name is Nick and this is My Way. My dad was at the academy with the Air Force and I'm sure pretty up himself at the time, and my mum was only 16, 17 at the time, and she was flying my grandfather's brand new glider that was, you know, the fanciest thing around. Dad got a little bit jealous and asked my grandpa why she could fly it and that he couldn't. My grandfather said, oh, it's only family, so Dad said he married Mum just so he could fly in the fancy new toy. I'm sure it's not the only reason, but he loves to tell everyone that's why. He was lucky enough to be the pilot in command for Expo 88 for the first dump and burn, which started the river fire event. He calls it bending rules, so he decided to bend the rules and end up being one of the longest dump and burns on record. So it was over 2 minutes long. Bit of a renegade, yeah. My first flight was at 4, my brother's a year older, so he was at 5. He kind of got thrown in the back seat and said, let's go for a ride, and I think from that moment, personally for me, I fell in love with it. It was kind of weird going to school and, you know, having to be driven to the gliding club so you could fly a plane on your own was quite interesting, considering you couldn't get your learners until 17. To be able to do it at such a young age, yeah, it's definitely unique, and you know, we were lucky enough to have that opportunity.
The very same glider that brought Nick's parents together,
this is my baby,
was brought back by the family as a surprise for Nick's mum's 60th birthday.
Oh, like it, love. It's comfortable as ever.
Yep. And with this playing such an important role in the beginning of the Maddocks family, it's no wonder Nick's passion for aircraft runs so deep.
Started off growing up doing maintenance on gliders and things like that, but ended up part-time working on now powered planes and warbirds. And at the time, part-time at uni, part-time working, I kind of had to decide which was the one I wanted to do more, and there was no question really. I worked for a couple of different companies, Ultimate Aero and then Performance Aero was the maintenance shop I worked for, and obviously with them had all sorts of opportunities to go around the world, around Australia, air shows, sort of you name it. With the Warbird community, I got into it and had a chance to try it out. So this is a Chinese training aircraft, so it was operated by the People's Liberation Army Air Force, the Chinese, as a basic trainer. This one was an ex-military aircraft that ended up in Australia over in Perth. I bought the aircraft, I sent a new engine across, or a second-hand engine to Perth. Flew over there, spent about a day getting it all sorted, and then my dad and I got in it and flew 15 hours across the country, stopping every about 2.5 hours for fuel. It was a fun trip and a nice bonding experience for my old man and I to fly across. Got it home, had a few flights with it when it was here, took a few friends and family flying, and then decided to do a ground-up rebuild. When we started stripping the paint, it came off in layers, and it was quite interesting. Through the layers you could actually see different markings that were on it at different paint jobs. And then we got down to like the original layer, and actually it had Chinese writing on all the little covers of what was where. That was the main reason to do it, was the paint, and that was about a 6-month process. I ended up, for the undercarriage and things like that, completely pulling every nut and bolt out of it, treating it, replacing anything that needs to be done, repainting and then reassembling every single component. And other than that, finding, you know, the inscriptions and, you know, little notes inside panels, and even just the numbering. You could probably get a general idea that it had moved around in different schools or different areas. It's still got plenty of work to do on it, but it's definitely getting to a point where it's starting to look more like what it was when I got it. Every aircraft I work on and restore is a labour of love. You wouldn't do it otherwise.
If you're into warbirds, check out the Australian Warbird Services website or Nick's Insta.